First leg in the books, 1-1 result in Belgrade, Red Star Belgrade against Sheriff from Moldova. The starting lineup, which I always kind of start with, what you expected, same lineup as the match against Kariat in the last round, which was round 2 of qualifying. The match started off a little bit more interesting, I think, than a lot of people thought, with Sheriff actually attacking Red Star. They had most of the possession in the first. It wasn't a huge portion of the match, but first 10 minutes you could say that Sheriff had more of the ball, and they created 2 half chances. Red Star backline, again, very suspect. Rodic with an errant pass. Can't remember to who it was. I think it was to Ivanic that was cut off, and there was a shot on net, and I think it was Gobelic a few minutes later who made a mistake as well. From the 10-minute point on, it was pretty much Red Star with most of the ball, created some chances, and then we kind of get to, I think it was something like the 20-something minute or 30th where Sheriff scored their first goal. A bad foul by Kanga in the probably like just outside the box, which was put away by the captain. Very good free kick. One of the Sheriff players in the wall kind of ducked down, and he got the ball over his head and slotted it in the back of the net for a 1-0 lead. And then as halftime approached, Diony put Red Star even at 1-1 off a little bit of a scramble. But like I said, Red Star created some chances as the first half went on. I'll say one thing. Milunovic last year was excellent in the air for Red Star. They don't have any of that this season if you look at it. Dragovic isn't, I wouldn't say he's the greatest in the air. He can do it, but he's not Milunovic. Pankov isn't that good in the air. And, when you take a look at the striker, you have Diony, who's not exactly the tallest player, so he's not like a Pavkov or a Falcinelli where maybe he could do a little bit more in that segment of the game. So a lot of the corners, were kind of whipped in, and you kind of hope for the best. There were some short corner kicks that were taken. I thought Pankov was awful today. He's losing a lot of confidence in the last 2 matches. He scored an own goal against Spartak on the weekend on Saturday, and he continues to kind of nosedive a little bit. Nonchalant passes, which was very characteristic of this team even last season, something that I criticized them on, except it was from the defensive midfielder. So if it was Sanogo and whoever else was partnering him, a lot of nonchalant passes, which led to the opposition cutting off the balls and creating chances going forward. One thing I will say is Sanogo and Kanga both picked up yellow cards in the first half. Dejan Stankovic has been here long enough, and those players have been at the club long enough for him to know the character of those 2 players. They're not very good with playing with yellow cards, especially Kanga. We've seen Kanga pick up red cards in big-time matches. If we think of Ludogorets 4 or 5 years back, where he picked up, I believe it was either a yellow, either his second yellow or a red, or a straight red at halftime. So literally at halftime when the players were going off the pitch, he picked up his second yellow, or it was a straight red, I can't remember. He had to have the knowledge to take either one of those 2 players off, or both. Now, I wouldn't have done both because you're risking a lot bringing 2 new defensive midfielders into that area, and those 2 players would probably have been Kristicic, who hasn't played too much this season, and Veljko Nikolic, who hasn't played at all, essentially. Actually, I don't think Veljko Nikolic has played even a minute this season, so I completely get that. But the Kanga yellow, both of his yellows were clear yellow cards. There's nothing you can really complain about. But ironically enough, that's when Red Star kind of put their foot on the gas. The next 15-20 minutes was all Red Star, created a number of chances, couldn't get the second goal. You're kind of going into Moldova now 1-1, so it's basically 0-0 because there's no more away goals. Falco had a few good chances, but his right foot isn't exactly his left foot. Krstovic was brought in for Diony. He didn't do too much today. I thought Kataj and Ivanic weren't that great. Kataj has been kind of the standout this entire season. Don't think that they were that great. The backline didn't really have a lot to do, but when they did, I felt like Pankov panicked a lot with the ball. We'll see what happens in the next league match. I think Pankov isn't going to play that one. He's going to sit out, and it's probably going to be Babic or Irakovic, and there's still Deganek who's on the bench. but there need to be adjustments here. Kang obviously isn't going to play the away tie, so Krstičić is the alternative that's probably going to be playing as the defensive midfielder. But look, we're in the third round of Champions League qualifying. We're one more round away from the playoff. The opponents are just going to get tougher and tougher. I thought Sheriff did a great job today. They did a lot of time wasting, which is you kind of expect. But getting that first goal for them and going back home with a 1-1 result was great for them. A lot of speed on the wings. And the Greek, I forget his name, the Greek midfielder, pulled a lot of the strings in their midfield. Traore, I don't think was that great today. Their best goal scorer, I forget his name as well now. 4 goals in 4 matches. I talked about him in my preview. He didn't play today due to injury. We'll see what his status is for the next match in Moldova. But for Sheriff, this is a great result. And I think a lot of people underestimated them. I don't want to sit here and say, well, I didn't. I really didn't, though, because they've been in Europa League, I think it's 4 times now in the last 10 years. They're Moldova's best team by a wide margin. They bring imported players in. They're very defensively sound. One thing I'll say is, and I mentioned this again in my preview, is last winter they brought in a wholesale of changes in the back line. These guys look like they've played together for a number of years and not just, a year and whatever it's been, but a wholesale of changes and even some changes in the midfield. They play very well. They counterattack very well, as Red Star saw today. Red Star is just going to need a better effort away from home. Another thing I'll say is I think the Dinamo Zagreb news with Red Star could play them in the playoff round. I think a lot of players are thinking about this. We'll see how Dinamo Zagreb performs tomorrow. They play Legia Warsaw. We'll see how they perform next match, which is tomorrow. But they haven't started the season off well either. But I feel like we're not giving Sheriff enough credit, and we're already focusing on Dinamo Zagreb when honestly we might not even get there. If we play like this, it's going to be very tough. Obviously, they have to win next match to even get there. Like I said, we'll see what Dinamo Zagreb does tomorrow against Legia Warsaw, who's also a very good team for Poland, and how they play. Like I said, Dinamo's had a bit of a tough start to their season as well. And Red Star, hasn't lost a game, but they haven't really played well in the 4 or 5 matches that they've played this season.